copper to sulfate as medicine? How does that work? Before we continue, hi everybody and a very warm welcome to anybody watching this video. My name is Mira, and apart from me, there's another few people that's going to be in this video today. Ali Kasrina, Naimi Liana, and Raiza. Right, a fun quote to set the vibe for today's video. Chemists do not usually stutter. It would be very awkward if they did, seeing that they have at times to get such words as methylethylmylophenolam. I'm not sure if that's correct. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about what's copper to sulfate and what's medicine and how does these two relate, the properties of copper to sulfate, and how it functions as a medicine in public health and safety, and also its usage in ecology. What's copper to sulfate? Honestly, it's really pretty. It's created by treating copper oxide and sulfuric acid. It has this vibrant blue color, so it's also known as blue stone or blue vitriol. Another name is copper sulfate. Pentahydrate basically means it has penta, 5, hydrate water, 5 molecules of water. Now medicine can mean a few things. A medical practitioner, in other words a doctor. So medicine in one part, it means the science or practice of diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of disease. In other words, it's also a drug, a prevention, something you take to not get the disease. Copper to sulfate properties, let's get to know it. So the chemical formula of copper to sulfate is CaSO4 when it's anhydrous, when it doesn't have any molecules of water. But when it does, and it has 5 molecules of water, the chemical formula is CaSO4 5H2O. It's a type of inorganic salt, and it appears as this vibrant pretty blue color when it's pentahydrate and gray-white when it's anhydrous. Its molecular weight is around 159.61 grams per mole, and it decomposes above 650 degrees Celsius, around 1202 Fahrenheit as the Americans call it. It's very soluble in water, but only moderately soluble in methyl alcohol.
Now, I will explain to you about the usage of copper to sulfate in public health and safety. First, it is used to prevent the spread of fungal infections in athletes' foods in warm climates. How? Copper to sulfate kills and destroys the growth of algae and bacteria in the swimming pool and prevented by mixing copper to sulfate with the fluorine mixture of shower, locker rooms, and swimming pools to prevent bacterial growth. So, as we can see, the picture shown that the food has been infected by the fungal. Next, prevention of malaria. Copper to sulfate used against mosquito larvae. How? Berry screen contain copper to sulfate powders work as larvicides to be poured onto ponds or stagnant water that contain larvae. So, it could kill larvae at the smallest lethal dose applied.
Hi guys, I'm Adia. So let's move on to another point under the public health and safety, which is the copper sulfate help to control bilharzia in the tropical climates. So how does copper sulfate is used to control this bilharzia? First, let us get to know what is meant by bilharzia. So bilharzia is also known as the schistosomiasis, which is a disease that causes the infection of parasitic disease in the human intestines. So according to the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, this disease has affected almost 700 million people worldwide. In fact, there are more than 70 million people who live in the endemic areas has been affected by this disease. So this infection is almost prevalent in the tropical areas. So copper sulfate acts as the molicicide, which is the copper sulfate will be toxic to the parasitic worms. So molicicide is actually the pesticides that kills the molluscs. In this case, copper sulfate is used as pesticide to kill the parasitic larvae. So as you can see here, there is actually a picture of a parasitic worm that causes the infections of bilharzia. Okay, so this is the last one under the public health and safety, where the copper sulfate is used to test the blood for anemia. So anemia is a condition where you don't have enough red blood cell, which results in the lack of oxygen in the body. So how does it work? The blood is tested by dropping it into a solution of copper sulfate of a known gravity, and after that you have to observe the results, where the blood that contains the sufficient amount of hemoglobin will sink rapidly due to its higher density, while the one that is not sink at all and just sinks slowly, it indicates that the blood have insufficient amount of hemoglobin, which is results in the anemia.
Next, we will be talking about how copper sulfate usage in medicine and the aspect of ecology. So, firstly, copper sulfate helps to treat mildew. Mildew is a disease in the plant that causes leaf spot and plant spoilage. You can see in the picture the white spot in the leaf is example of the mildew. So, how copper sulfate works? Copper sulfate works by binding to the protein in the fungus. Then it will damage the cells of the fungus and result to the dying. There's also history evidence usage of copper sulfate in treating mildew. During 1866, parent green was sprayed on plants, especially cotton tree in USA. Its point is, copper sulfate will help to prevent the spread of fungal infections in cattle foods. How it then? Copper sulfate will kill and destroy the fungal growths and pre-existing fungus on the hooves of the cattle by doing activities food baths. By doing food baths to the cattle, it will not only prevent intense pain, but it will also fix the inability of the cattle that cannot walk normally due to the fungal infection in the hoof that damage the cells. Lastly, copper sulfate helps to prevent algal blooms on the surface of the pond. So, how it does? Copper sulfate acts as herbicide to destroy the algae blooms that grow on the surface of the pond. It will not only provide clean and safe water for the herds, but they also preserve aquatic life in the pond because they can get enough sunlight for the photosynthesis due to the high penetration of light.
Now we are in Q&A session and we will discuss about fun fact of copper 2 sulfate. Naimi, where does copper 2 sulfate get the name blue vitriol?
Copper sulfate get the name blue vitriol from its distinct beautiful blue color. So, Isa, do you know why that copper sulfate is really important as medicines in our daily life?
Yes, copper 2 sulfate important as a medicine in our daily life because it prevents the spread of fungal infection in athlete foods and cattle foods, help to control bilharzia, prevent malaria, prevent algae blooms, and used to test blood for anemia.
Is copper 2 sulfate toxic to living things, particularly human beings? The answer is yes. However, it's only mildly toxic because we tend to vomit it out pretty quickly. It does become a problem if we don't vomit it out. In fact, there's been several cases where people die due to copper sulfate poisoning. Copper sulfate can also cause skin irritation, eye irritation, diarrhea, nausea, and things like so.
Yes, as Mira said, copper sulfate is toxic to human. But don't forget that animals is also a living things. So copper sulfate is also a toxic to animals. For example, aquatic animals. So studies and research has found out that copper sulfate is highly toxic to fish and aquatic life. So how is this happen? So this is because the copper sulfate application to control the algae blooms in the ponds and lake is the main cause of the fish death. So how is this happen? This is due to the increasing of oxygen depletion and the increasing of debris. Mira, do copper sulfate that is used in medicine to treat humans have any side effects?
See, copper sulfate becomes a problem if it goes into your body, if you consume it. Other than that, you should be fine. Copper sulfate as medicine is used as an antiseptic to treat open wounds and a skin condition called yellow phosphorus skin. However, because its ability to be absorbed through the skin into our body is pretty quick, you should also avoid large amounts more than necessary. Adia, I have a question. Is copper 2 sulfate environmentally friendly as medicine in ecology?
Not really, Mira. Copper sulfate may possess some risk to the environment due to its toxic nature. This is because copper sulfate is not biodegradable, where it does not break down easily. Besides, copper sulfate is also highly corrosive to steel, iron, and galvanized pipes. So, copper sulfate is hard to handle, stored, and incompatible with cost-effective methods.